Okay, so now we're officially starting. So what I'm going to do is just a real brief intro because we have so much to cover. Tracey Clingen is the VP of National Programs for Genumark, Canada's largest distributor. So when Tracey and I get together, it's for hours because maybe new to the industry, may not know my background was as a distributor. I grew up in the shop and company store business. We both actually cut our teeth our entire careers in this particular model, company stores. We both saw the evolution from catalogs to e-commerce. We both saw the evolution of this full-blown fulfillment program to doing on-demand. So we've kind of been around through this entire trajectory, and both running large companies that were doing large programs, but we also did a lot of small stuff too, but we'll get into that in a minute. Tracey, thanks for doing this today, by the way.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be invited, and I'm extra happy I get to talk to you, Bobby.
How do you evaluate a good shop? Like, I'm going to use, by the way, for everybody that's here, I'm going to use shops as a generic term for stores, programs, whatever you might call them. But we will talk about the distinction between these different types of stores, shops here. But from now on, I'm going to use the word shops. How do you evaluate a good opportunity?
I mean, it used to be only the big companies that could have a store. And you and I remember the days it was a paper catalog and only the big boys had them. And we've seen that evolution where it's a handful of companies had a corporate store. Now everyone wants one. It doesn't matter how many people you have in your company, like everyone is contacting you going, you want to shop. So, I mean, you need to have that conversation with your customer. Why do you want to shop? Like, get down to their pain points, talk to them. Are you just putting up a store for vanity's sake and then you feel like you're supposed to have one? I mean, everyone's used to the Amazon experience. Everything's instant, everything's online. And that's great for Amazon, but what are we going to do for you for your corporate store? So ask those questions. Is it a store that you want to have inventory for? Is it a one-time shop where it's a booking program? Or is it just like custom orders that you want to do?
What's a booking program, Tracey? Tell me what a booking program, what your word is.
Okay, so booking program. So it's a small offering of product, and you put it up on the store. You give it to your company. You give the link to your customers, or more often it's for internal. So it's for your employees, and you put the offering up. They go on. You give them 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Keep that window really short because the shorter it is, the more focused people are. You get to the end, you take it off, and then we only order exactly what was ordered. So you're not putting your client at risk of having a warehouse full of inventory and not sure what to order. And do I order too many? Do I order not enough? It's an exact thing. So it's great for.
Right. Okay. You call it a booking program. Julie just said we call it a pop-up shop. We call it a pop-up shop.
Exactly.
Same thing. How do you? What's your favorite type of customer? Like, give me a good example of a really good customer for you.
Someone who gets it, someone who really wants to have a relationship with us. They have a reason to come to the store. They know what they're looking for, whether it's someone looking to funnel all of their purchases for keeping their sales reps from going to my buddy down the road. They want to focus the buy to one spot. They want to have tracking on their spend so they know what they're spending corporately on swag, or something like a uniform shop where they want a single point of contact so they have a universal look for all of their employees. So it's all funneled to one place, and we can look after the relationship we're having with those people.
The thing I like about what you're saying is they have to have a purpose for the shop. It can't be just, hey, we want one because everyone has one, because that's a waste of your time and a waste of their time. And I have talked to so many distributors that they'll do it, and typically they'll get strong-armed into it by an existing customer. And that's where it gets hard. But the purpose-driven shops are what you're talking about here. There's a lot of folks asking in the chat, what programs are you using for stores? Like, are you doing fulfillment in-house? And what software type programs are you using? Is it proprietary software? What is your make?
We Genumark started on this. I think we were one of the forefront people on the web stores. So we started with our own internal proprietary stores. But I mean, we have been using the common stores because they just make it so easy for those little people that need us or want a store, and they want something to have a web shop, but they're not really at the point where they need a giant web store. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a giant web store. I've said that a couple of times. Yeah. You can have a site where it's got inventory and it's for a big company, but you can also have a shop that's smaller, and it's really focused in on again, fulfilling that need, that customer's need. What do they want the shop for? And we can design different kinds of stores to make sure that that happens for them.
Yeah, it's funny because in this business, I think we think more is more. Like, and if we put lots of shit in the shop, we all these big things that it's going to make sales happen. My favorite kind of store was like a safety program where they had an X number of employees get on the site and they select one of 6 items, and it's an on-demand program that's open for like 3 months, and we close it, and boom, it's a $150,000 program. We go from, I think our biggest shop had 1,500 items on it. We're shipping 50,000 boxes out of the warehouse a year. And we think of that as the pinnacle to success. But when you look at what I guess I'm stressing is that success for shops and stores are relative to what that means for you, to profitability for you, because they're distributors of all different kinds of sizes. But more is just going to kill you, right?
Going to kill you. Do not just throw up one of those stores. Don't just throw up merchandise. Like, it makes me crazy to watch the stores. So they just throw, they don't talk to anyone. They don't learn about the company. They don't learn about what the internal workings of the company are, or what their corporate culture is. They just slam product up there. They throw corporate logos on it, and they sit back and think that it's magically going to happen without any thought.
Right. Yvonne asked a good question. Wait, are people ordering day one and then getting stuff for 3 months? Yes. What we learned is if you set up the expectations for what this is, so folks can pick their item and they know they're not getting it for 30 days because we're going to aggregate orders, then as long as they're cool with it, the thing we had to work with the buyer up front on is the expectations. We have to make sure your team and you understand expectations. Is that your experience, Tracey?
Well, exactly. And you need to build a store for what the need is. If it's a big company, we have it in stock. It's one piece, you can ship at a time. And that's the traditional one we're used to. Now with things like common SKU, we can set up a shop where you might have inventory on the store. You've pre-designed it. You've worked with the corporation's marketing team. You know what the water bottle is going to look like. It's already pre-designed. Your sales guys don't need to go and try and figure out what mug they want. They don't need to figure out what the logo standards are. They don't need to do all that stuff. But on the site, the minimum might be 48. And some customers want that. They want to set the expectation to their salespeople. If you want this, it's going to be 48 pieces, and we're going to treat it like a custom order. There's a web shop there, but from a distributor point of view, it's a custom order. And if you said, as you mentioned, if you set up the expectation that it's going to be a couple of weeks, people are okay with that if you set the expectation in advance.
Yeah. And help them set the expectation for their internal colleagues, because often these corporate buyers get on the hook. And I forget who said it here, but I thought it was fantastic. Andrew Fitzpatrick said it. I feel like most issues that come up in our industry can be avoided if we all properly set expectations. That is so well said, particularly with shops and stores.
I mean, 100%. And I'm jumping into something else. Like, curate your store. Don't.
I want to get on that. I want to get into that. So talk to me about curation and what you should consider when it comes to crafting unique experiences with merchandise, because you and I have both been in this situation. Everybody that's ever done a shop has been in this situation where you get a client and they want everything, right? They just want to see what works. They don't know the energy and the what you put behind it. Tell me about what a good curation experience is like for a shop.
I mean, you want to give your employees the idea that they're going into like a boutique. You know, I'm going to throw the Canada out there in an OVO type store in Drake, and shout out to Canadian Drake. But it's something that's special. You're not walking into a Walmart or, you know, some oversized garage sale and there's just product and it's thrown. You want your customer to be able to go into the store and see a really cool selection. You know, if there's 3 bags on the store, can you give them all to a client as a gift and have them kind of match? Is there the clothing? Is it an outfit? Can you put it together? It's curated. It has the feel of what your customer represents. If you're an environmental company, are you making sure that the items on your store are recyclable? It's, you know, think about it. Talk to your customer. Don't just throw stuff up there.
I love what you said with me. You used the phrase, make your store feel like they're coming home. So can you share a story of one of your best stores and how they make the e-commerce feel more like coming home and familiar to them rather than this cold transactional experience? And I'm thinking of the one example that you had about the models from the company modeling merch.
Okay. I mean, first of all, you want the employees when they're going onto the shop to kind of have that look and feel of their corporate store. You want them to kind of feel like they're coming to just another link on their own corporate site. So, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're doing a simple store, you know, pull out some colors, make sure you use the right logo standards, use that. So they think that they're going onto their own site. Like I've even had customer service got a call once where somebody kept asking one of the girls to run the product downstairs and she couldn't figure out what they're talking about.
Right.
She thought that the store was actually in the building and it was something that the company had and they could just run it down to her office. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean,
us to actually go to an in-person store as their shop. So even our team was sort of wearing their gear. We wanted the more they feel like it's their experience and not you, the vendor. That's what you're saying. The more buy-in they're going to have with this, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the reference you made to the models, we had one store where you actually had the employees at the company wearing the product. And those were the models for our store. So they had the product on. And when I say models, don't pick the prettiest person and you can have the pretty person, but also have the real people. I mean, people come in all shapes and sizes and colors and preferences and show those people in your store and know that particular store. I mean, we developed a relationship with that particular company where it was a telecom company. We started tracking their uniform program initially on an Excel spreadsheet. So if you can imagine getting orders, shipping them out of your warehouse, tracking by employee number and ticking down allocations. So that was one of the first jobs we actually did. So now the store, it welcomes them. It knows how many uniforms they have left. It knows how their name is spelled properly on their name badge. It knows everything about them. And that company opened 2 more telecom brands and they came back to us for the web store again for both of those companies. And when someone new starts with the company, they actually come to us and they say, Tracey, can you teach this person about how the store works? So that's the kind of relationship you have. You're in there long term with these people when you really work with them for a store.
I love that. I love the boutique aspect. I love treat it like a boutique aspect. Don't treat it like a mall. Designing a good shop. I love what you shared with me before about designing an experience and not just launching a shop. How important has design become? You and I remember the day where they just wanted a logo and they could buy their stuff, but that's not the world we live in anymore.
I mean, I already talked about product selection, but you know, the cookie cutter shops, please don't do that, guys. I've seen so many stores where I know the competition. I know what the 10 products are that they're doing on this, and they do it for every single customer. The accounting company doesn't want the same thing as the truck drivers. Like, curate your store. Think about your product design. It was T that kind of started that whole concept of a really cool notebook. You want the notebook to have like a feel-good phrase on it. And then you want the corporate logo to be small. And I always ask myself, would you take that home to your house if someone gave it to you? Do I want that product? Like, think about the product that you're doing and really make it. And Katie just popped up, know the audience, 100%. Know who your employees are and make the product for them as if you were giving a gift to them.
Yeah. I think Danny Rosen was the one that told me once, pretty open, I see Danny's here, pretty opens the door, function seals the deal. So in other words, make it really important about design, but your function, performance, and all of that is what really is going to seal the deal. But you can't even get to the table anymore without good design. All right, so that's pretty basic. Let me ask you this. Everybody wants to talk about inventory and everybody wants the magic answer.
You can have everything and you can have it for free. That's what everyone wants.
Right. And you want it tomorrow? Let's talk about inventory versus non-inventory. What percentage of items do you think your average customer inventories versus drop ships?
I mentioned that drop ship store where you can actually make a drop ship site. You can put up a website, but really it's a drop ship store. Right. You can put those minimums up there. When you offer someone an inventory store, I mean, make sure they need it. Do the math with them. Look at their numbers of what they think their spend's going to be for the year. I've got this trick where I do 4 turns a year, and that kind of helps me talk with them about how much inventory they really need on a store.
Yeah. By the way, I had a formula that I would work with clients on. I don't know if this is there's no science behind this, but I would say if you're going to do 100,000 a year, let's consider 10% of that inventory. And the only reason I would start talking with them in that language is it would help the psychology of the buyer for them to go, inventory and walk away from the steal. We want this to be something that works for everybody involved. But I'm going to let you keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same kind of math, except mine is I want 4 turns a year out of a store. So if it's a $400,000 program, I want max $100,000 in inventory. You want that inventory to be turning. You want it to be moving. That gives you the opportunity to swap out product too. If there's a slow mover, you can switch it out with something else. You want the things that are on the store to be the on-demand things. You don't want it to be like, oh, maybe I might use it someday. Those are special orders. Those are custom orders. Like, so, make sure that you design it so there's not too much there.
Okay, 4 turns of inventory a year. That's what you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Dave just asked how we feel about contracts. That was actually going to be my next question. I had different models. We didn't do distributor-owned inventory. You guys do some distributor-owned inventory. How do you handle contracts? The elusive buyback agreement, those types of things?
Put the buyback clause in there. You do not want to have a store without thinking about a buyback clause. If you've got a customer, and I'm talking even if it's client-owned inventory, even if the client's owning the stuff up front and it's prepaid for and it's in the warehouse, and I know I'm going to kill you pure salespeople out there, where if someone wants to buy something, you're going to tell them no, that's not in the salesperson's nature. But you have to remember that this is a relationship you're having with your client. You don't want them breaking up with you at the end of a year because all of a sudden they've got onesies and twosies of product in the back. You want to have the inventory that they feel like they need. Don't over, and it's a bit of a magic wand kind of a decision, but work with them on their numbers to make sure that they actually have what they want, and then you can move from there.
Danny mentioned this, and I've always felt this way too. Us shouldering the liability for their gear is a big deal. And obviously you've learned well enough to take the risk and how. That's all in the legal aspect of it. How do you determine a good performing store? When do you know to pull the plug on that? So for example, and I hate to be negative, what I'm trying to get at is, what does a good buyback agreement include? And how do you know when it's time to activate that? And I don't mean it's just because it hasn't done anything in like a year and a half. I mean, like, how do you know you get out of it quickly?
I mean, the buyback clauses always need to be there. And I've been doing this a long time. And the only time that you really actually see a buyback engage is if you're breaking up for good. Your customer's gone, they've gone to another supplier. And you might have a store that's a dud. Hey, let's face it, not all the stores are gonna work for you. There's gonna be some clients that want the store, they have these big dreams, but it's not just happening. But does that store drive you custom business? Is the store going to help you with custom business? If a person goes, a customer goes to the link, doesn't see exactly what they want in the store, but your name is there, and they can send you an email and you guys start a chat, you've got a warm lead. You've already basically got the sale. You're able to engage. So a bad store, can you prune it down? Can you make it work on the site? But if you can't, are you getting custom orders from it? Because it might be worth it if you had that store and you're still getting something from it in that regard.
Yeah, it's something I talk about a lot. And just because if you can get it, if you can activate it, it's critical, and that is a minimum purchase agreement. If you can work with your client to the point to where you're taking a risk with them and they're taking a risk with you, and we're going to do a minimum purchase agreement, and we're going to agree to do these things as long as you end up purchasing. It's kind of hard to do, but if you can execute it, it's fantastic. We actually saw it work. We actually saw it drive sales internally. That's it. Let me, Tracey, what topic did you want to, I'm going through these so fast because you hear, we're both fast talkers. What topic have we missed here that you wanted to make sure you talk about? Anything specific?
I just want to talk about what we're seeing next level, like what I'm seeing in RFPs, and we're talking about getting stores. The technology is getting crazy. I mean, we're talking now about linking stores. The RFPs they want to link to their e-procurement sites. So their Ariba's, their Coupas, they want SSO, so they want single sign-on. So they want to be able to sign on to your store with the same login that you sign in the morning when you get to your computer. Everything's got to be mobile friendly. Web security right now is madness. So as quickly as you enhance your web security, you are having to, make sure your web stores are up to snuff because the hackers are trying to get around. So if you don't have your own procurement platform or you don't have your own web shop design, make sure you work with someone like commonsku who's always like dotting their I's and crossing their T's, making sure the security on the site is there, because that's something that's super important right now.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes. We got about 3 minutes. I'm starting to pay off. How do you, this question came up over and over, so I'm going to ask it. It's going back a little bit, a few topics. How do you control that impulse they want to shop?
It's having those conversations. What I keep falling back to is talk to them about their numbers. Use that 4 turns thing. Explain to them that, you know, give me an estimate of what you think your yearly spend is. A lot of customers have no idea, and you can easily, if they do have a guess, cut it in half, because usually it's half. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
It's so true. I had someone tell me cut it in half and then cut it in half. Go ahead.
And then take a spreadsheet, take that number, cut a quarter of the inventory that I talked about with that 4 turns. You know your MOQs from your suppliers. You know what the price is. Show them the math on an Excel spreadsheet. And warn them, you do not want it. You are someday going to be responsible for all of this stuff that you want on your web store. I mean, I can give it all to you, but it's yours. At the end of the day, it's yours. Buyback clause.
Last question. You've been doing this a while now. I've been doing this a while. What excites you the most? Because we just talked about, in case some of you missed it who showed up a little later, fourth quarter is just kind of blown up with Genumark, and here's the largest distributor in Canada, and that their shop experience. We've seen that with commonsku. What are you excited about the most as it pertains to what you do heading forward?
I'm really excited about the sites are getting more and more personal. I'm loving the fact that the evolution has taken place from it's a catalog to it's a really bad web store. I mean, Bobby, you know that our first web stores were bad. They had teeny tiny images, clothing that looked like they'd been pulled out of the dryer and run over by a truck. Now we've got the opportunity to make it a warm and fuzzy feeling kind of site and do things like promote the environment, have little reels where you're showing that this travel mug is made, what it does. You know, does it support wells? We have that opportunity now.
That's awesome. Tracey, thank you so much. We got to head over back to the main stage, but really appreciate you. We could talk for a while. We'll do it again.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go drink water now. Thanks, Bobby. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Tracey.